Sometimes Thomas has movies. Cases there are no villains, and sometimes we'll remember that these movies tell stories, and story needs a villain. There's a right and a wrong way of going about writing a villain.
Now, Andrew Brenner's writing is where the show peaked in pretty much every way. In fact, Sodder's Legend of the Lost Treasure, which was the first special in the series to introduce a human villain, second if you count the scrapped Boomer from Tapper, is generally considered one of the best, if not the best, Thomas movies out there. After the Great Race and whatever it was they were trying to do with Vinnie, they realized they needed new villains. With how willing Sailor John was to cause physical harm and how he was a fantastic villain who demonstrated that not all drivers in this show were good by default, they were creating massive shoes to fill. A strong divide emerged between fans either loathing or hating Journey Beyond Soder when it came out. Some even had mixed feelings about it. It also introduced multiple characters to the extended Thomas universe, including the antagonists and the subjects of this, Frankie and Hurricane.
Did them no good as they weren't Sailor John. Sailor John worked because he was proof how terrifying a human villain could be in this show. The problem with Frankie and Hurricane, they came right after Sailor John in season 21. And it shows. That's what makes them so controversial, in fact. Why they're amazing villains.
Say what you will about them, but Frankie and Hurricane can sing a good song, and the hottest place in town is the best Journey Beyond Soder song. Now their villainy. It starts with them simply manipulating Thomas into helping them in exchange for them taking his trucks to Bridlington. Then when Thomas escapes, they attempt to chase him down. They crack down on any of his efforts to escape. James comes to save Thomas and confronts them, and they're like, "Yeah, Thomas is gone." It's one of my favorite scenes. Anyway, later on when Thomas and James attempt to leave, they resort to chasing James all around the steelworks, attempting to block his path and derail him if necessary. And then it'll get to that.
Why they work. The thing is, Frankie and Hurricane have this dynamic. Frankie is very manipulative with her scheming side. Frankie is also a total baddie. She knows she's doing something wrong.
Frankie also is a bit of a control freak. Hurricane also gets a piece of the manipulative pie. Frankie's treatment of Thomas as a whole gets creepier and more passive-aggressively callous as time passes, perhaps most disturbingly when she starts refusing to call Thomas anything besides Little John. While Hurricane is actually the nicer of the two, Frankie's behavior veers unsettlingly towards a cruel slave owner. Slavery in Thomas is a very bold and welcoming concept. And then
Climax.
In the climax, Thomas comes very close to being melted down in a massive smelting pit. Fortunately, Hurricane pushes Thomas out of the way of some spilled molten steel, though he gets caught up in it himself, causing his wheels to melt. If this was Sailor John, he would have not cared. And yet, Hurricane was willing to save Thomas from imminent mortal danger. It's nice to see that he obviously cares about yet hurts Thomas. Thankfully, Merlin saves Hurricane. And then Hurricane and Frankie turn over a new leaf, not without suffering, of course, but it gives them a strangely sympathetic redemption arc. People actually wanted them to face consequences for literal slavery, and this is why I love them so much as villains. But at times they just straight up confuse me. Lexi, Theo and Merlin now work at the steelworks with them.
But wow, did Mattel do them dirty in Big World, Big Adventures? Blah blah. 2018-2021 was a dark time for Thomas fans.
Anyone who's spent even a modicum of time around any fan discussion surrounding this show is well aware that Bubba is one of the most infamous chapters in the show's history. They've gotten criticism for its international episodes, its character derailment, The fantasy sequences, its intro movie, its visuals, its theme song, and pretty much everything else except maybe the episodes written by Michael White. The Ibs newbies are horribly treated here, save for Merlin and Beresford, they're non-entities. Now, Seeing is Believing is a horrible episode, though nowhere near as awful as some episodes that had come later. One of the very few good things about it is that Mattel managed to get Hugh Bonneville back to voice Merlin. Mitchell White stated that it's likely that Theo, Lexi, Merlin, Hurricane, and Frankie were intended to appear in the Royal Engine. The other Steelworks Engines were going to be in that Passera.
Conclusion.
Frankie and Hurricane sure don't hold a candle to Sailor John, but there's no need to compare Applause and Piers. They're divisive, but they are great villains. And they're why Journey Beyond Soder is so fun. Say what you will about Journey Beyond Soder, but was it worth these two villains?
Yes, it was. Please click that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.